Car Mechanic Simulator is a weird game to try and review because it does exactly what it says in the tin, and it does that okay. But I wouldn't really class it as that much of a game. Like, it's trying to let you feel what it'd be like to be a car mechanic, and it does that job pretty well. But there's not really that much fun to it, in my opinion. Like, the gameplay itself is fine. You get a car, you'll often get a list of things that are wrong with it, like in this case the steering rack and the sway bar rear end link are broken, so we can stick it on the lifter and we can go and look for those parts to remove them and replace them. But primarily it's just a point of there's not a lot to it other than doing the job. And it's great if you want to see what it's like to be a car mechanic, though I imagine it's probably a lot dirtier than what this is. So like for instance, if we want to find the things that are broken here, we can go across and we can track the parts. And we can go into an examination mode and we can see if we can track them down. Like there's one of the parts that's broken. The other one was a rear end link, wasn't it? So it should probably be at the back of the car here. Yep, there it is. So when you want to do stuff like remove parts, you go into this kind of exploded view. And if we want to take that off, we've got to take the tire off first. So the majority of these interactions just revolve around holding down the X button. Like you don't have to do anything here but hold down X to unscrew the tire and remove it. Is that enough to take off what we need? Yes it is. So we can take off the sway bar. Then at the front of the car we've got to take off this part. And to take off the steering rack, can't take it off straight away. Got to take off something else first. And this is where one of the game's problems can be, is that the camera controls can be a little bit iffy. Like you can press X to focus on a part, but sometimes there'll still be other parts in the way that will get in your way. We can't take off that until we take off the tires, so to take off this we've got to take off both tires. But this is pretty much how the game plays over and over again. Is just you get asked to fix something, so you take the parts off, and then you buy new ones from the internet, which I'll show in a minute once we get around to it, and then you put them back on. And it's probably a bit reductive to say that's what a car mechanic's job is, but I mean he probably has to do a bit more in the way of actual analysis of the problem and figuring out what the thing is, because he doesn't have a handy little percentage meter that says that, oh yes, the steering rack here, it's only got 10% quality, needs to be replaced. So you can go into parts, notes and inventory here, and you can say, okay, so we need a new steering rack. So we'll add that to our shopping lists. Sway bar rear end link, we'll add that to shopping list too. And go onto a website, and you can press the wrong button to go back a page, because I always do that. So, we are currently looking for steering rack. So you can type in the word steer, and you get steering rack, $800, and a sway bar, sway, rear end link. Yep, that's what we need. $20. Now we've got the replacement parts. We put them back on. And that's pretty much the game, is just cars come in, they've got a problem, and you fix it. Now, there are some things that the game could do that would make it better, such as having better camera controls. But crucially, I don't know how much money I'm going to get for this job. It's probably not going to be a huge amount because of the fact that the things I'm putting on aren't particularly expensive. Like the steering rack was $800, I suppose. But once we're done with this job and we get paid, I'll show you the interface for selecting jobs, because the interface for selecting jobs is not particularly great either. Now you might also spot other problems with the car, like this car's brake discs are probably too cheap. There's no point. Like, as far as I can tell, doing extraneous jobs like replacing things they don't want you to fix or that aren't actually completely broken doesn't get you any more money. And the money is the important stuff here. So, check that job. We have fixed the order. We spent 800 bucks. We got paid 1,600. So we got about 800 bucks profit. And we're up to having 15 grand in our personal account now, which is great. These are the orders that come in, and they kind of cycle through pretty rapidly, given they only last for a minute or two, but they don't tell you how much money you're going to make. Sometimes they'll say stuff like money bonus, but again, it doesn't specify. So you can do a job that will take you maybe 5-6 minutes, and you earn like 20 bucks. And it feels completely worthless to spend your time doing that. Because the other part of the game is, as you complete jobs, you'll get crates, you get loot boxes, and you'll have things like barn finds, so you can go to a barn. Let's do that now for 100 bucks. And then you can go and try and find some banged up cars, and then replace them and repair them and make them your own. Which sounds like an interesting thing. Except that the only barn finds I've found so far have cost about 20 grand. And of course you have to make sure you keep some money for, you know, liquid capital, so you can buy parts to replace them for people, because otherwise you can't do the job to earn more money. And while the game itself, the gameplay is not the most stimulating or whatever, it's fine. It's just, it takes so long to earn any decent amount of money. So check car information. Car price is 25 grand for this car. 25 grand. I got 14, so I can't buy it, so I guess I'll just play for another like 16 hours to get another 10 grand, and then another 5 grand for liquid capital before I could then buy my own car. Like, you have stuff like, you have a garage which lets you store up to 14 cars when you start out, and as you do stuff you gain XP, which I should briefly explain, and there's perks to get, like you can be able to install parts faster, get a 5% discount in shops. But again, I've played this for about 6 hours at this point. I'm level 6, and all of the interesting stuff, like say having a bigger garage that has stuff like a paint shop to let you do customization jobs, or being able to show the average values of cars, or having stuff like like instantly examining cars when you see them for the first time. That would take months to get to. The other thing that's a kind of a nuisance is that occasionally you'll have to use machines inside the shop to do things. The game's tutorial is terrible at teaching you how to actually play the game. It basically just says, oh, here's a garage, you can look around and you can point at things, and they'll say things like, the tire changer lets you change tires. When actually you need to have a rim and a tire to actually be able to stick them all together, and then you also have to balance them before you put them on the car. I was stuck for maybe 15 minutes last night because of my first time playing the game, trying to put some front shock absorbers back onto a car, because I didn't realise I had to use this thing, the spring puller, to combine components together to make the shock absorber first. Because again, the game didn't tell me, and the actual machine for doing it is pretty nondescript, and I didn't see it when I walked around the garage for a while looking for things to do. With a better tutorial, with better information for the player about how much money you're making, and even just improving the amount of money and XP you gain, it would be a more enjoyable grind, but the grind is still massive for doing any of the things that are actually the interesting parts. But like, there's a racetrack you can go to if you had your own car, and you could upgrade it with parts you get from loot boxes for completing jobs if you had your own car. But it's going to be so long before I get that sort of stuff that I just don't have the inclination to play the game for that long. Like, it seems like a very chill and relaxed game. The soundtrack is actually probably one of the best parts of it, because there's a huge range of radio stations of royalty-free music, which also means you don't get hit by various copyright strikes on your videos, which is always nice. But it's just, it's very it's fine. It's a game for people who want to do stuff like that. They'll have a great time with it. It's a budget title, it's relatively cheap, Like, I'd probably buy it myself when it goes down to like 10 quid to have to throw on every now and again, but it couldn't be a game you'd play for a long period of time because you just get bored. And all of the cool and exciting stuff like having machines or tools to be able to test stuff, or even took me hours just to unlock a test track in here to be able to test tires. It just takes so long to do that your time would be better spent doing almost anything else. So if this sounds interesting to you, sure, buy it when it's on sale. But otherwise, it's probably just not for me. Thanks for watching.